the last show we're going to be talking about is Yuri on Ice. So,
the only thing that I know from the show is that apparently it's really good.
My coworker told me about it too.
There has been so much publicity and just general hype on this show.
Yeah. Who's the studio behind this again?
Ooh. I want to say Mappa. Yeah, it was Mappa. The huge thing about Yuri on Ice is the story and the development of the characters. The show has a non-traditional relationship in it that is being very progressive, and it's somewhat changing the industry because of how popular a show with this type of relationship is. Mappa is still knocking it out of the park with the animation. Everything is gorgeous in this show. The characters are really well developed, and it's this show, like Keijo that we talked about earlier, is like a sports show with over-the-top action, like a battle shonen show. Ping Pong Girls is like a real in-depth sports show that teaches you a lot about the sport. This show is like a sports show mixed with slice of life, where it's like you're learning about the characters, you're following the characters through all of these tournaments, and there's relationships developing between two of the main characters, a few of side characters. You get to see like Yuri, the main Yuri, not Yuri, the blind guy, but the main Yuri. You get to see like his family and like them cheering him on. Like they're all sitting in front of the TV, or they're sitting in the crowd, and they're all like, yeah, cheering on with him, like as he goes through the whole show. So it's really like a really, really cool show that you kind of get involved with, and you're like, oh my god, and you like wait for your favorite character's routine to show up, and you're like, it's so much better than all these other guys. Win, get the best score. So it's I don't know. I just really, really liked it. I loved following these characters throughout the whole season. Now,
Big D, did you watch the whole season?
Yes, I watched the whole thing, and they sequel baited it, so it's like you followed this series of tournaments, and then there was one character who's actually like the most popular, and he kind of steps aside and starts coaching one of the other characters throughout this whole season. And as the season goes through, you can as the sports season and the anime season goes through, you get to see that he's being inspired by his former competitors, and then he's developing as a person because he's developing a relationship with another athlete, and then he's also progressing because he's actually coaching someone. And then towards the end of the season, you can see that he's really interested in getting back into the competition. So it's kind of cool that you're like, oh no, they're not going to be coaching athlete anymore. Now they're actually going to be competitors. And it's kind of weird that you would think about the next series, and you're like, how is that dynamic going to work? Like, they were kind of in a relationship. They were kind of like student and pupil, like teacher and pupil. And then now they're actually going to be competitors. I'm like, can that even work with like a relationship? Or I don't even know. So it's like, each character, like you think about them and you're like, oh, they went through all of these journeys through the first series. So if they do a second series, like what would they be doing next? Like there was one character who was planning on getting married, and I don't know if things fell through because of like the outcomes of like a tournament, or I can't remember the exact details for that character because it was like a minor character, but I am really like excited to see the main characters like go back in, because the main Yuri, he was like at the very first episode, he had like done horrible in in a tournament, and he was like, I'm about to retire. So he like just doesn't do any more tournaments. I think he might, I don't know if it was because of his choice or he like was just dropped out of the running. So he goes home and like kind of just like drowns his sorrows in like pork bowl, which looked really good. I want to try to find that in real life one day. But so yeah, he just goes home and everybody kind of like consoling him. And they're like, "Ah, you did good," and he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then he kind of like goes back out on the ice to kind of just, I don't know, like relieve some stress. And he ends up doing a routine of like the exact routine of like the highest rated guy skating out there, which is who ends up actually becoming his coach, because his friend's triplet sisters like videotape him skating, like just practicing that guy's routine, like move for move, and then they upload it to like the anime Twitter, and like the video gets like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views and everything, and like it becomes such a big deal that Victor, the guy who he was imitating, actually comes to his house. And he's like, I'm going to coach you. And like, that's how the whole dynamic starts with them. So it's like, it's crazy because it's like, you follow this one character, you're like, oh, okay. So it's like, what's going to be the push to get him back into the, back into the sport? Yeah, back into the sport, because it's like, we're introduced to him with like this harsh loss, and like he's crying in the bathroom, and like somebody comes and like yells at him and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, wow. And then he goes home and you're like, oh, okay, well, something's going to inspire him. And like for them to do like such a modern thing where like a viral video on anime Twitter is like the thing that inspires like people in real life to actually come and like get him back into the sport in such an unusual way. It's really, really cool. So, I definitely recommend it. I'd say check out the first episode, and if the man service doesn't push you off, then I would say it is a great, great show to watch. Story, animation, everything.
I mean, I'll just ask, to me, I wouldn't necessarily mind watching it. I wouldn't want the relationships to be as much of a focal point as everything else. Is it like the relationships like the actual main focus, or do they do too much of that, do you think? Or
so it depends on the person, like how you feel about that. To me, I'm like, I don't care, as long as it's like not 80% of the show, then I'm like, let's go. But it's like, I would say it's probably 10% of the show. Like,
oh well, see, in that case, that's nothing.
Yeah, and it's like, I would say like a strong 10%. Like there's some scenes where it's like just focused on them, but then right after that scene's over, then they just jump right back into all the other characters. Like, okay, well, he just finished his routine. It was a really high, stressful, and emotional moment. This is what happened between these two characters afterwards. Okay, now somebody else is jumping on the ice, so let's go over there. Yeah, it's not like it's.
Do they handle it kind of like Food Wars, where it starts off with your main character, but then it starts branching out and introducing all these other characters, and then the story becomes how I guess each character kind of has their own style of cooking, and they all interact together, where no one really hates each other, but they all kind of compete against each other. They all build a friendship, or one of them is a teacher, and they kind of help each other out, kind of like that.
Yeah, I would say if you look at the key visual, there's 3 characters in the front. Those are the 3 main characters. Because of what happened in the first episode, how the Victor got his attention was Yuri got Victor's attention, so he ended up coming to his house. So basically, Victor is the guy on the right in the red, and then there's 2 guys named Yuri, which is kind of like why the show's called Yuri on Ice. The main character is the guy in the front, and then because both of them are named Yuri, and like I think it's something in Japanese culture where they like giving people nicknames. Like that's why a lot of people are named Chan at the end. Like people have nicknames with Chan at the end. Well, there was 2 Yuri, so like you're Yuri and then you're Yuri O, and I don't get that, but it makes sense because they all like are always giving out nicknames. But so basically, because Victor was actually coaching Udo, the blind guy, in Russia, and because he did just actually he wasn't coaching him, he was like a fellow skater under the same coach. And because he decided to get out of skating completely and to coach the other guy, Udo got pissed off and came to the other guy's house too. And he's like, no, you're not taking this dude there for me. Like, we supposed to be showing me like the ropes and all that kind of stuff. So what he ends up doing, he's like, okay, I'll coach both of you guys. And he starts coaching both of them, and you can see like a drastic difference in their skating styles. And actually, my favorite skater is actually Udo, the blind guy, because like they mentioned a couple times that like because he's young and flexible and stuff like that, and he also later on does prima ballerina. He actually gets like a prima ballerina to actually coach him also. So like his movements are like really fluid and kind of like bird-like, I guess is what I would describe it as. It ends up being really cool to see like the different styles, and then because there's like this connection between Victor and Yuri, Udo decides, he's like, well, I don't feel like I'm getting the attention that I want, and because you pissed me off, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna beat you. So he goes back to Russia, back to his older coach, and that's when he starts getting like really serious into like the prima ballerina training, and all of the skaters are like following each other, so you get to see like all of them are like on their phone looking at Twitter and like, oh, this person's taking pictures and doing all this kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, he scored this, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool how they like implement social media into it, because it took like a big part of the series. But yeah, I just really like the show. Like the characters are really good. So
nice.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, but everybody at least watch the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will do.
His character does a complete 180. So he's enthusiastic about helping, and he wants to do all of this stuff and all of this crap. And then his brother is introduced into the story, and then all of a sudden it gets serious for him.
Turns into a different person.
Yeah.
Different character.
He turns into a completely different person, and then it just kind of, he goes crazy and all of that stuff.
Yeah, but he's so brave. He's not afraid to die. I mean, he was just like, I'm going to go kill this person, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to get this guy's head off.
Yeah. Every fight, he's like, I'm collecting his head. And then he walks away with a head, and you're just like, all right, cool.